We heard about the attacks on our supply caravans for about 2 weeks before we got our orders. It was all anybody was talking about, really. The caravaner said they were being harassed by bandits along Highway 10, supposedly close by to the village of Udo. It wasn't long before someone had to investigate it. Obiosimaman decided that my squad would be the lucky winners of a trip outside the city, and we didn't really have much say in the matter. So, packed our gear and headed out like the good soldiers we were. We left at about 2000 hours or so. Followed the road east for about 20 kilometers, I'd say. Didn't experience any incidents on the way there. It was a pretty night, actually. We arrived at Udo at about 2400 hours, and the place was oddly peaceful. Aside from the scars caused by looting and the chaos. It was in rather good condition for being abandoned for a few years. So my squad and I cleared the western portion of the village, and we found an old motel, and we decided to sit up there because it had a really nice view of the main road going through the village. We went to the room we were eyeing up and began to set our things up there. I decided that since it was so late at night that we might as well try and get some sleep and just continue our investigation in the morning. I had Gefaita Weber be the guard for the first hour, and I would go up the ranks from there. I decided to stay up too and further set up things in the motel for usage as a field HQ of sorts, whilst the rest of my men slept. That's why I was awake when the incident began at around 132 hours. That's when I heard something that sounded like shouting from outside, and I was grabbing my gear to go investigate what was going on, and that's when the gunfire began. I just heard this awful, terrible screaming as the popping began. It was like a demon on the cusp of death. Needless to say, I was practically running out naked. I only had a helmet and rifle on instead of my usual combat gear. When I burst out, the first thing I see is some figure shuffling away in an alleyway across the street. It looked humanoid, but from the glimpse I got, it just didn't seem natural. It was thinner and taller than an average person should have been. The skin might have been pale too, but it was night, so I might have just been my eyes messing with me. So I look over to Weber, who is scared shitless. His skin, it's pale, his eyes are sunk into his skull. He's even still pressing on his trigger, but he's completely out of ammo by this point. The rest of the squad is waking up too to just figure out what the hell just happened. And obviously I want to know too, so I snap him out of it and begin asking him all these questions. But he says that he saw someone approaching from across the street. He ordered who he thought was a person to halt and state their business and, all that jazz. But whoever, whatever it was, looked up at him. Weber said that its face was completely fucked up. I don't mean like it was injured or something like that. Its face was just not right. Its eyes were black with these small, white, glowing pupils just staring up at him. Its nose was merely 2 dots in the middle of its face, and its mouth had this exaggerated, nearly impossible smile. It tried to attack Weber, apparently, but he shot first, and must have injured it because it retreated afterwards. So I make a tough choice, but decide that I have to get my squad out there. Even if what he shot was a person, it still meant we were being watched by an unknown number of potential hostiles, and I wasn't about to risk my men's lives so we could figure out what that ending would be. We packed all of our stuff up and retreated around 0200 hours, but on our way out, I did want to check the area that I saw that thing stumble into. The alleyway was completely empty, but there were these blue liquid splotches trailing down the alleyway and even splashed on one of the walls. I assume it must have splattered out when Weber shot him, because it must have been its blood. So we leave. Walk takes us about 4 hours. We reach Rosshaven at about 600 hours. I give my initial report to my superiors, and then the Stasi rounded us up and sent us to you folks.